Today on Take a Hike, or should I say take a kayak, we are talking Lake Shelbyville. We are posted at Denham's Pit near Allenville. We'll be talking with Ashley Flory, and she has got a wealth of information about all things Lake Shelbyville, so stay tuned for an awesome show.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas in Central Illinois, and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Take a Hike, and today we are taking a hike talking about Lake Shelbyville. So my guest today, we've got Ashley Flory. Welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
And so folks who maybe are more familiar with Lake Shelbyville proper, or just having the big lake behind us, that's not the case today. So Ashley, can you fill us in on where we are today?
Well, actually, we're at Denham's Pit. It's an access area on the wildlife management area here at Lake Shelbyville.
Gotcha.
And we are, some people will say, well, where's that at? A lot of people, when they think of Lake Shelbyville, they maybe think of Shelbyville, or they may think of Sullivan, because Lake Shelbyville is a lot bigger than most people do anticipate. But so we are on Denham's Pit. It's located it's on 121, right off of 121, between Mattoon and Sullivan. So if you cross the Kaskaskia River, we are just on the west side of that.
Gotcha. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this area in detail later in our show. But first, how did you get involved with Lake Shelbyville? What is your role?
So I'm a natural resource specialist here at Lake Shelbyville. And how I kind of started my career here at the project is, I was a college student looking for a summer job. My sister's friend was working here at the time, and he said, you'd be a great park ranger. And I thought, I don't know about being a park ranger. So he gave me an application, I filled it out, and I've been in love ever since. So
you got hooked, and you just didn't want to give it up.
Yeah, I grew up in Shelby County, born and raised in the area. So Lake Shelbyville is in my backyard. We live on a family farm, and we work all the time. And so I remember coming to work like the first few days and coming back home and just kind of being very disappointed in my parents because I didn't know everything that Lake Shelbyville had to offer. I'm like, it was just kind of like an awe to me. And I think I think that's one reason why I really enjoy the work that I do and trying to get that outreach to the community and to our youth is because, I grew up here and I didn't realize what there was, and I don't want other people to go through that like I did. I had to learn it a little bit later in life, and so the resources is here, and I just want everyone to know about it.
Exactly, and that's a lot of the background of this show, is that we want people to know that you don't have to take a hike too far to find some great outdoor resources right here in Central Illinois. So as we're talking about Lake Shelbyville, can you kind of fill us in on how it got started?
Yeah, so the Flood Control Act of 1938, Congress passed that the dam and reservoir was, in that. So, but it didn't get, in 1958, then they reintroduced that policy. And then that was when Lake Shelbyville was a go for that. So the Flood Control Act of 38 and then reintroducing it in 58. So then that construction began in May of 63, and then of course, groundbreaking and the dam, and last year we celebrated 50 years. So in 1970, the lake was open for business. So.
And there's a lot of recreation opportunities for people. Is there any of them that you would like to kind of start with? Because I'd like to run through all of them just so folks really know what Lake Shelbyville has to offer.
Right. Well, so Lake Shelbyville, so why are we here? I talked briefly about the Flood Control Act, but that is why we are here. We're number one mission here at Lake Shelbyville is flood control. So, you know, it is the Kaskaskia River. So from Champaign, it goes through Lake Shelbyville. From Lake Shelbyville, then it goes into Carlisle Lake. And then from Carlisle Lake, it goes into the Mississippi. So that is why we are here, because of the extensive flooding on the Kaskaskia. So, you know, recreation just is an added bonus to that, you know. So a lot of people, you know, they think, well, we built Lake Shelbyville, so you had a place to camp, you had a place to go fishing. Yeah, exactly. And we do, we're very thankful that we have those benefits from that. But, you know, number one, flood control. We help aid the navigation in the Mississippi. So, you know, we're taking directions from our water control in St. Louis of how much water we should hold back, how much we should release, and that is to aid that navigation in the Mississippi. So that is a huge picture of Lake Shelbyville in general. But then you've got, of course, fish and wildlife. That's another mission, recreation, and then water supply as well. So, you know, what is there to do at Lake Shelbyville? Well, first of all, fishing. You know, when you think of a lake, you think of fishing. Fishing is our number one activity here at the project. Some people may not think that. They'll think that that's camping. But the amount of fishermen that come to the project and fish, it's tremendous. It is bringing a lot of economic money into the area. So fishing is by far number one. We do have a great organization, the Fish Habitat Alliance, Lake Shelbyville Fish Habitat Alliance, who has spent the last few years really working hard to sustain the fisheries here at the project. So, you know, they have gotten numerous grants to make fish structure and habitat. You know, so before before the river was dammed up, you had all these, you know, all the trees and all the bottom area, you know, that was being flooded out, and so that provided a lot of structure for the fish early on. But now you don't see that. You still see some dead trees here and there, you know, but over time we have lost that structure and we've lost that vegetation for those fisheries. So this group has stepped in and has just done a tremendous job of making sure that there is adequate structure that the fish need to survive, and it's been phenomenal. I know this spring, you know, the fishing was tremendous, and the fishing reports have been good, and it is a fisherman's destination. So along with fishing, you know, you have camping, you know, which usually is from basically April till the end of September or end of October. I take that back. Some of our campgrounds, give or take, are open a little bit shorter season, and then some of our bigger campgrounds are open a little bit longer. So there are 5 campgrounds, federal campgrounds on the project. You know, when people talk about Lake Shelbyville, they think about maybe the state entity of it or the government entity of it. You know, I'm a park ranger for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, so we are federal, meaning government. But also at Lake Shelbyville, you have the state parks, which is ran by the Department of Natural Resources, the state. So that's Eagle Creek and Wolf Creek, and then of course the wildlife management area that we're sitting on today is also managed by the state. So it's all Lake Shelbyville. There's just different entities that manage different aspects of it. So there's 5 federal campgrounds on the project, and then of course the state parks, Eagle Creek and Wolf Creek, have 2 campgrounds as well. So and like I said, those camping, it's, you know, anywhere from April till October, you know, that there's numerous chances for you to come and enjoy the project. You know, once COVID and the pandemic hit, you know, recreation has just been, it's been at its highest use, I guess. So if you're planning to do some camping here at the project, we always ask it, you know, make your reservations ahead of time. The federal campgrounds now are 100% reservable. So if you're a last minute planner, which some of us are, it's not that you still can't find what you're looking for, because we do have, you know, the weekends, 2-3 days is good, but if you're wanting to come for 2 weeks, 14 days type of thing, you know, you got to plan ahead for that. So, you know, you can make those reservations and then make sure you have a place as well. So.
And if I'm looking to register for that, is that a phone call? Is that something online? How do I go about that?
The easiest way to do it is online at recreation.gov. You get online, and you know, whether it's, you can type in Lake Shelbyville, it's going to list you all the recreation areas that it has. But if you know it's a specific campground that you're looking for, then you can just plug that in and then see what the availability is for that. So.
I feel like you ran through a lot. I know for fishing, at least, we had a Paw Report episode taped on Lake Shelbyville, and it was just incredible fishing that day. For anglers, what type of fish can you typically expect to get from Lake Shelbyville?
Well, I mean, every angler is a little bit different. Usually they're the crappie fishermen, or they're the bass fishermen, or they're the muskie fishermen. So I think it just depends on the person. You know, a lot of people too like to fish when the fishing's hot, right? Yeah. So that's based on spawn. So, you know, if the crappie's spawning, then that's going to bring a lot of people because the fishing's so good, you know. If the bass are spawning, it's the same thing. They'll come in to fish for that, and the same thing, you know, with catfish as well. So, but your most popular species here at the project are going to be crappie, your white and black crappie, of course bass as well. You got largemouth bass, white bass, striped bass, catfish. You know, some people will say catfishing's tough here, but some people do really well as well. And then of course, you know, if you're just coming out to fish and you got a worm on, you know, you're going to be able to catch bluegill and sunfish as well. But you know, muskie, the state record muskie was caught in the spillway several years ago.
Yeah.
And so, you know, a lot of people will come down in the spillway to try to catch the muskie. And then of course walleye, you know, it's kind of, I feel, maybe the hidden secret of Lake Shelbyville. Ooh. Not now,
yeah.
But the walleye fishing has just really been tremendous. The wildlife biologist here, or the fisheries biologist here at the project, has done a great job of not introducing, but just keeping those stocked walleye and sauger in the project. And we have a nursery pond where we're doing those raising those fingerlings and then releasing them into the lake as well. So the crappie and walleye fishing has absolutely been fantastic the last few years.
And for people on the lake, is there boating? Is there swimming? Is there no wake zones? How does that kind of shake out?
Yeah, so, you know, of course, you have the body of water, so that we have, you know, in the summer months, I always say peak season, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Of course, it's always blazing hot, right? Yeah. And everyone wants to cool off. And of course, we've got 3 public beaches here at the project. And then also the state park also has a beach as well. So we do have public beaches for people to come swimming, you know, and then places to put your boat. So, you know, not only do we have the fishermen who are bringing their boats out here, we also have the pleasure boaters as well, whether it's, you know, from houseboats to ski boats, you know, to wake boats. So it's quite a diverse group, like I said, from that Memorial Day to Labor Day. So, you know, we also have 3 marinas on the lake as well. You got Lithia Springs, Sullivan Marina, and Finley Marina. So a lot of those folks are, you know, their boat stays on Lake Shelbyville year round, or at least during those peak seasons. So it gives them a quick access to it. You know, and activities that they're doing when they're out there is, you know, anything from tubing to skiing, or just hanging out in a cove and relaxing with their friends. So lots of different opportunities with that.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a good time. And then off the water, you hit on camping a bit. Is there any sort of hiking, biking, trail opportunities around the lake?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of hiking, biking, and trail opportunities, I guess. So, you know, on the core side, we have our General Dacey Trail, which is just right outside Shelbyville. It's connected to Forest Park. There you kind of have it can bring almost any user group, I guess, to the area, because they have some paved trails in there that's oil and chip. You know, so family wants to go with some young ones on a bike or pushing a stroller, absolutely perfect for that. There's about 3 miles, well, 3+ miles inside the park area, and then of course comes into our Dam West recreation area as well. But then the back side of that, we also have single track dirt mountain bike trails as well, which is perfect for hiking. It's multi-use, but it's not like the paved portion that you get inside the park area. So we've got those mountain bike trails, and total of the General Dacey, you're about 8 miles or so with that. So just, it's got, like I said, kind of a little bit of something for everybody on that. The Corps also has the Chief Illini Trail, which is an 11-mile hike. So not everyone's always interested in that, but if you're looking to, you know, you're looking for something close, and that's why we're talking about Lake Shelbyville. But if you're also planning to do a backpacking trip, there's no better way to get in shape than, come locally. And, if you can't take the 11 miles here in Illinois, you may not be able to take the 11-mile trek, out west or wherever your destination may be for that. So we do have 11-mile trail. You can either start at Lone Point and go to Eagle Creek State Park, which is a state park area, or you can go to Eagle Creek to Lone Point, whichever way. So you do have camping at both spots. So, if you wanted to make it a weekend type of thing, you could, stay overnight at Lone Point, hit the trail, end up at Eagle Creek, camp there, come back, vice versa. We do have an Adirondack shelter as well. It's at the end of the Little Illini, about 2.5 miles in from Lone Point. So some people, a lot of scouts will come out and bring those kids, and they'll hike a few miles and then stay there overnight. There's no power, there's no electricity. You're really roughing it.
Keep them tablets at home.
Yeah, maybe not the very, no way to charge it, I guess.
Yeah.
No Wi-Fi available for that as well. So we do have that option as well. One thing with that trail is when we do have high water, and of course we've had high water these last few years, there's lots of sections of that trail that go underwater. So we are in the process of getting those bridges fixed back up. We was able to receive a grant, so in the next few years that trail will really be a tourist destination for those folks that's looking for a little bit more rugged hiking experience. So and then of course we have Camp Campfield, which is really close to Sullivan area, just south of Sullivan, and it's a hiking and biking trail as well. And Central Illinois Mountain Bike Association takes over that trail for us, and they do a great job of maintaining it. And there's about 8 miles of hiking and mountain bike trails there as well. So,
2 quick questions.
Yep.
Are they equine accessible, any of the trails?
No. So
Okay.
the one on government. So like I said, this kind of gets confusing when we talk about Lake Shelbyville, because you have what's the core, which is government, and then what's the state. So actually the Wolf Creek State Park actually does have horseback riding and horse trails within their park. Now, and they have various hiking trails as well. I just kind of really hit on the government because those are what I'm familiar with. But the state parks do have, both Eagle Creek and Wolf Creek have hiking trails, and then Wolf Creek State Park is the only trail that does have horseback riding on it as well. So.
And then when we were talking about camping, so you're saying there is tent camping, but also camper camping, or glamping, as I kind of call it?
Yeah. So most areas, of course, like our federal campgrounds, there are almost all of ours have now electricity. An option whether you want to use it or not.
Yeah.
But all of them typically do have electricity, but we also have full hookup sites. So that would be more of your glamping, right? You got 50 amp service and the ability to hook up to water and then sewer, be able to dump your sewer as well. So that would be more on the high end. So there's a handful of those within our parks. And then of course, then you have campsites that have 30 amp and 50 amp. Some have water, no sewer, and then we do have certain areas that are just designated for tent camping as well, even though there is still electricity there.
So if I'm somebody who is very interested in Lake Shelbyville, in making sure that it is around for years to come, is there any sort of conservation efforts or anything that the community does, whether it be cleanup days? I know that you mentioned the fish habitat. That's excellent. Is there any other opportunities that the average Joe can come help with?
Well, as for like different events there, I mean, it's kind of been hit and miss just based on staffing. But usually in the past, we've done Earth Days cleanups. We've done National Public Lands Day cleanups. We do have a really good, I guess, community, just real good partnership with our local schools. So Sullivan School, Shelbyville, and Oakall Valley, all 3 of those schools at the junior high and high school level do various work days for us. And that could be to help us get the campgrounds open. And I know like Sullivan, in the fall, they usually come out and do like shoreline cleanup. We've also had different agents or different businesses in our community, like ADM. They came out one year and did a shoreline cleanup as well. So periodically we have random things, but sometimes people just come to us basically and say, hey, we've got, you know, this amount of people and we want to be able to do something for you guys. What can we do? And then we help organize that as well. So those, like I said, the school though it's a tremendous partnership, and you know, one reason why we feel that that's important, because some of those kids have never been out to the project.
Yeah.
And so when they come out to clean up, you know, then they can go home and talk to their parents about, well, I did this today and this is where I did it at, and do you know that you can do this while you're there, type of thing. So it's really worked out well, and the schools are great to work with, and basically anytime that I need something done, I know that I can rely on any of them to come and help out.
That's a wonderful community partnership, and it's kind of sounding like what you were saying at the very beginning, where you weren't sure that this asset was right in your backyard, but you are, you know, instilling it in these local school kids so that they don't have to wonder
Right.
what's
and
out
too,
there.
like I said, I mean, this is, you know, Lake Shelbyville, it's yours. You know, it's federal. You're paying for this. This is your property. You know, a lot of times, and that's what I tell everyone. They're like, well, I don't understand what you mean. Well, it's yours, and so if you want it to be here for future generations, then you know we got to do everything we can. You know, whether it's like I said, you know, what you bring in, you take it out, and you know, if you want those resources, like I want these resources to be here for my kids, and I want them to be here for their grandkids. And so it's very important, and I think that anytime that any of those youth come to the project, we really just let them know that this is theirs, you know, and they just don't understand. Yeah, their parents are the ones paying the taxes. But hopefully in the future, they do understand that. And I think one thing a lot of people don't realize when I say that it's yours, you know, I had the privilege to grow up on a farm. And so we had, you know, lots of acres for me to roam around and do things on, and whether it was go hunting or fishing. And, you know, other people don't have those options. You know, if you live in town, you know, and you don't have someone that you know that has that type of property, how are you going to do that? Well, that's why you can come here to Lake Shelbyville. You know, we have that property and it's yours to use, you know. So I just, like I said, I just think that's, I think that's just the hidden gem that a lot of people doesn't realize.
Well, and to interject, we are here at Denham's Pit, and we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to try and show you the hidden potential that's out here that we would love for viewers to check out sometime. So don't go anywhere.
Being outside on a hike can help us feel close to nature, but it's important to not get too close and disturb the wildlife. While you may be comfortable around different wildlife you may see in the woods or see people online who feed animals in their backyard, you shouldn't feed the animals you see on a hike. Wild animals do not need food from humans to survive, and human food isn't good for them either. If fed the wrong foods, wild animals can become malnourished and even die, so it's best to leave them to their specialized diets that they're accustomed to. Wild plants should also be left alone. If you take wild plants out of their natural habitat, you may be disrupting a fragile ecosystem or destroying an animal's home. If you end up with any trash on your hike, always make sure to throw it away properly. It can damage the habitats of all of the wildlife in the woods and even be dangerous to the animal's physical health. So next time you eat a granola bar on the trail, keep the wrapper in your backpack until you can throw it away in the trash.
So we are back. We have swapped locations out here at Denham's Pit. We are on the Kaskasky now.
Yes, we are.
Fabulous. So you and I were talking that a lot of folks don't know about this hidden gem of a water trail. So can you fill us in on what it is?
Right, absolutely. So actually the Corps of Engineers had a couple water trails mapped out in our master plan. But you know, when you do anything new, it takes manpower, it takes people. And you know, we're still trying to operate everything we had. So Spark, an organization out of Sullivan, which consists of different business individuals, community, you know, folks in the community, they put together this group to try to increase recreation, bring new ideas to Moultrie County. So we gave them our idea, and they took it away and had an Eagle Scout who helped with the design of the signs and get money for this water trail, and here we are today.
And for folks who maybe don't know where this is located, can you again kind of reiterate, how do we find this place?
All right, so between Allensville and Sullivan on 121, Route 121, it would just be on the west side of the Kaskaskia River. Basically, if you cross the bridge, it would be on the south side of the bridge on the west, and it's just an access point back here. The state was able to put a rock boat ramp here just for paddling, which has made the accessibility even better. So the trail itself runs from here. You can put in here, this is the start of it, and you can go all the way to our Forest Bowwood campground, which would be approximately about a 12-mile paddle.
Awesome. And so as we are wrapping up, water safety is obviously very important. We've got our life jackets. You've got us hooked up with whistles.
Right, that's correct. So depending on what you're doing on the water and what type of boat you have, it just depends on what the requirements will be. But on a kayak or a canoe, there's no longer a registration that's needed for that. But you do have to have a life jacket. You don't have to have it on. We encourage everyone to always wear their life jackets, but you got to have a life jacket with you, and then on the kayak as well, you have to have a whistle. So we are legit and we are ready to go.
Awesome. And this is my first time in a kayak, so Ashley's been so kind to give me pointers and everything like that. How important is it for beginners to do their homework and or go with someone who's experienced?
Oh, that's number one, absolutely. You know, you got to know your expertise level, I guess. And if you're a beginner, you know, going down the river probably wouldn't be number one, even though I'm with you, so I do think you'll be okay. But you know, just going into a cove, going into a pond or, you know, a smaller lake, and really getting the feel, you know, of how you react in it, how the kayak itself handles. You know, always tell someone where you're going, right? You know, check the weather, you know, make sure you got good weather. And if you're going up and down a river, you know, what's the flow coming in, what's the flow going out, you know, and things like that's very, very important.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for coming on our show. You've been a wealth of knowledge, and we hope you'll join us next time. We've lucked out today that the water's a little bit lower, so Ashley's going to give me some pointers on kayaking, so we will see you next time on Take a Hike.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.